do MIS and dashboards, and then get into analytics. Once you get into analytics, the most important part is how do you put that analytics across to people. Storyboarding. I'll give you an example. Sometime, in India, they did an analytics saying that, okay, our population, which we spoke of, is really coming down. The latest census is telling us that, 2.6 is the average children a woman bears in India. Wow, it's come down from the 5, 6 it was there 20 years back. Cost for celebration? Is it? That's what the data analytics tells us. But when you compare it, it tells us that with all the other growing nations of equal size, if you look at it, we're still far worse. Right? So what it tells us is, it's very important is to look at how do you storyboard, how do you analyze. After you analyze, where do you benchmark? Okay, small anecdote before I finish. Typically in recruitment, how do we reduce the, bring the benchmark down? I'll tell you, I don't know how many of you are here, recruitment or talent acquisition professionals. I'm a talent acquisition guy. When I was doing interview for, for frontline, I would have 10 people. And I know the line manager needs 2 good people. And I know all of these 10 people are below the benchmark the line manager needs. But I have to get 2 people selected. You know what I'm going to do? I'll first put the 3 worst people. Here's a benchmark. But with these 3 worst people, I've brought his benchmark down here. He's like, this is the kind of people I'm getting today. Then I put my 1 average person. He says, oh, okay, this person is kind of okay. Then I put 3 more even worse people. His benchmark has come down. And this person for him seems, oh, this is the best guy, I'll hire this guy. Typically, that's how data also works with you. You have to have an appropriate benchmark. You have to stick to that benchmark. Don't let that benchmark come down. Stick to that benchmark, make a storyboarding, and then present the relevant data. You'll find that there's a lot more acceptance from the people also who you're presenting it to. Right? This is what I had to share, so we'll speak more once we're done with the session. Thank you.
Hello.
Deepak, I ate a lot of food here, so my voice was harder.
You okay? Now it is on. Yeah. Thank you. So I come from an American company, and I'm more in field of analytics. So there might be a time lapse here. So it's like when I talk about something as present. So what I see is there is a difference about of 3 to 15 years between an American organization and an Indian organization. Depends on the industry which you are in. So maybe you'll have to kind of set my context right there in case I kind of go there. So what I was trying to cover here was more in terms of what the future holds for us. But the kind of questions I got, my understanding is it's first let me cover the present and then kind of talk about future, because future might be just kind of too off right now. So let's just start first with, I think some of you have raised this basic question, why analytics, why analytics? So any answers, any one of you ever thought of it, that why analytics is getting so big and why is it kind of intruding our life like that? So any pointers? Data is increasing, awesome, okay. More? Okay, no measure, no success, okay. So exactly, so my 2 cents there are, see, one is in terms of the technology advancement. So earlier we used to have 1 GB computers transported in a truck. That's like my first view of IBM. When I enter my office, there is a picture, 1970, our first computer, 1 GB hard disk being transported by a truck. You cannot imagine it right now. So it's like 1 GB is just nothing. It's like, it's your phone's RAM is at times bigger than that. So the technology advancement is kind of taking us there. The other aspect which is happening is that we are always in a race to zero. So when I say race to zero, what is race to zero? Whenever I go to any clients of mine, I'm a consultant. For HR, it's like business is the client. Whenever you go to your client, the worst thing or the last thing when the conversation will end would be cost cutting, cost ghatao, cost kam karo, बहुत ज़्यादा लग रहा है, cost, reduce cost. So we are always in a race to zero, wherein we want that the process should work, everything should work, and what I pay is like almost zero. If possible, zero. So these are the 2 big things which are kind of driving the world towards analytics. Now, I'm going to try and kind of merge these 2. So in terms of, I'll just, yeah. So this is what the first part is. These are typical projects which organizations have taken up in last 5 years. These are the projects which are they going to take in the next 5 years. So we have kind of established in our conversation in the last 1.5 minutes that analytics is like something which is there to stay. Reasons, there is technology advancement. Reason number 2, there is a race to zero, so we have to achieve it. There is no way we can avoid this. So it's like a spaceship which has landed. Now either you run away or you anticipate whether it is going to throw a laser, whether it's going to throw a bomb. It's there to stay. And forget about analytics. There is something called cognitive which is going to hit us even harder, and I'm going to cover that maybe in the last 2 minutes of my kind of talk. So analytics is here to stay. Now, I had my earlier speakers kind of talk about various examples. One typical case was in terms of recruitment, that how can we reduce the cost of recruitment? When we go to various clients, at times we take this example that if you have the right profile over a candidate, the ratio of number of applicants to the conversion, it dramatically improves if you have the background. But this is still kind of far off. So how many people are actually on LinkedIn? How many people are actually having Facebook accounts? How many people are having Twitter accounts? For my organization, is it really relevant? The big thing which works in Indian organizations and which we have been implementing and kind of we've got a few clients right now is in terms of attrition. So kind of all of the panel members at one point or another touched on attrition, and you would also be doing something on attrition that in terms of attrition, predicting what kind of group is ready to attract, what kind of group I have to retain, what is their linkage. So before I move into that, I'd like to introduce 3 terms here. So in terms of analytics, if you have to understand, the 3 terms of the maturity continuum we talk about is descriptive. Descriptive is something like, any guesses? I would rather kind of take a word. So descriptive, predictive, prescriptive. These are the 3 maturity continuums I'm talking about. So any guesses? What is the difference between these 3 or any definitions you can think of for analytics? Sorry, descriptive is more of statistical. Just a bit louder. Describe the data, okay. Predictive is forecasting, okay. Describe the data, forecast the data. So qualitative would fall in what? Descriptive or predictive or prescriptive? Descriptive, okay. So descriptive is like describe the data. Predictive is model, predicted. What would be prescriptive then? Suggestion. Perfect. So that's how it is. So now kind of coming on to, so like if I look at coming in terms of relating it to attrition. So when I say, okay, my employees aged between 30 to 35 are leaving the organization, 40% of them are leaving because of salary increase. This is what is called as pure descriptive. I move on to the next step. That is predictive. What I do is, I pick data for last 3 years and I put in various factors. So a factor for an employee could be tenure in the band or like designation he or she has been, his or her educational qualification, salary versus the benchmark, and various other HR data which you would have. So it would be about 15 odd factors, 20 odd factors. You look at last 3 years, kind of try and run a software on that. So someone said tools and software. So it's like there are stuff like SPSS, R, MATLAB, which does this. You put it there, and there is something called factor analysis. So I put these 20 factors, the data in this of my employees. I know that for my organization, these are the 3 or 4 key factors. So I have suddenly kind of zeroed down my research from 20 odd things to manage to 4 odd things. This could be that maybe people with longer tenure kind of leave. If I don't promote them in 4 years, they leave. If I don't promote them in 7 years, they leave. It depends purely on the organization. Maybe because of the salary range. So he might be happy because of his salary, or maybe unhappy. His salary was good, but he was like getting less than his friend, or example Prashil gave. Maybe that is not kind of covered here, but at least within the organization, we can kind of look at. So predictive is getting onto those factors that these are the important ones or which lead to it, and then running your existing employee data on those factors. So what I did was I looked at history. It's better if I have history. So first step would be you need to have data. If you don't have, then God save you, but try capturing data. But if you can look at last 3 years of data, build a mindset, okay, this is something, and then based on that, apply that to the current workforce, you would know that this person's propensity to leave is high, medium, low. And then comes the next part, which is prescriptive. So prescriptive is still kind of, everyone is trying to do that. And when I say prescriptive, it's coming from machine. So it's like, that's wherein this machine learning comes in. So when analytics started, it was first about data, then about machine learning. When I talk about machine learning, it's like machine understanding data. So machine digesting data and kind of throwing insights out. The future is machine kind of suggesting also, making suggestions also. So I don't know how many of you would have heard of something called Watson. It played chess against Gary Kasparov, so it's an IBM product, I don't know. Anyone who have heard about Watson or not? So, okay, there is a hand there. Sorry, yeah. You can be a bit louder, yeah. So it defeated Gary Kasparov. So it's like chess, yeah. Chess is a game wherein you are kind of taking decisions real time. So this was like genesis of prescriptive, wherein like in 2008 to 10, we had this research lab, and they came up with this. So it is like the computer can now suggest and take action. So that is prescriptive. But again, coming back to that, I'm just keeping prescriptive for later. Coming back to predictive, it is like factor analysis. I have figured out what are the factors. How can I make it smarter as humans? So it's like there is another question which is always popping up, that are our jobs safe? And when I was in a conference about 3 months back, we were talking about US jobs, and what we said was like about 30% of these jobs won't kind of last after 2018 to 2020, the traditional jobs. When I say that, because there is a huge push which we are doing, we say there is data, then there is robotic process automation. When I say robotic process automation, what I'm saying is anything that does not require human mind or decision making should be automated. It could be your payroll processing, it could be an onboarding process, anything which does not require human intervention or human thinking. There is a difference between intervention and thinking. So like, as you said, we can create jobs by saying people, you create files, you pick that file, you keep it there. But our view of world is slightly different. When we look at this, we look at a process, we draw it on a paper, and we try and figure out, does this require human intervention or human brain? If something is not requiring human brain, it should be automated. And if that is done, then the only part which is left is more in terms of wherein you are taking real-time decisions. So in terms of our view of, I would say for recruitment would be that 5 years down the line, there is no recruitment organization. There are marketing strategists who are positioning your organization on various social media, wherein people are kind of applying for this. And then moving on to the next one, I got this. So this is the most interesting one. So why are we kind of looking at this world, and why is the world changing so dramatically? One of the things is, in old age, so it's like in past, people used to work for sustenance. It was that I have to earn a living. Now it is about sustenance as well as satisfaction. And the future is about identity. So now with advent of social media, people have started expressing themselves. People are able to express themselves on various websites. They are able to give data. And that's wherein this cognitive world is kind of coming in. So no issues. Okay. So that's wherein, so what we are saying is, one, there is a lot of data being generated. Number two, the workforce is changing. Number three, what is the implication for HR? So first thing is in terms of skills. Skills of employees are kind of getting shorter and shorter in terms of their shelf life. At least in my organization, when I talk about IT, the shelf life of skills is like going down dramatically. The two keywords I tell my employees are upskill or cross-skill. Otherwise, you would not be kind of required going forward, because what you're doing right now is being automated or is being kind of done at a lower cost. So it's better that you gain more than one skill. And if you have one skill, then go one step up, upskill, otherwise it is like difficult. Next is in terms of demographics of workforce. The demographics of workforce which is coming now is very different. Now people who are joining organizations are those who never saw a world without a mobile phone. It's like that generation has started hitting us. It's like 2015. Mobile phones came to India in around late 90s. Most of us had something in our hand by 2000. Maybe it was 3310, but we had a phone by 2001, 2002. So now we have that workforce which is coming in, which saw their parents with mobile phones. When I talk about US, we are looking at a workforce which just kind of was born and brought up on those phones, and they were using them. And what is happening is they are questioning a lot of things, be it 9 to 6 working hours, be it usage of systems, be it why can't it be on mobile. These are some of the questions which are coming because of changing of the demographics of the workforce. So we as HR have to anticipate that and see that this inflection point is here. At least for India also, it is there, that suddenly a workforce is coming which has never seen a world without a mobile phone. And because of social and all, they are also kind of someone who are able to express themselves. We are not, so if I go back to kind of 20 years back, it was more regimental style, that you tell a soldier something, he will stick to it. But now the soldier asks you questions. So one of the things when sir was speaking, I was like, when I went to NDA, they used to say officer-like quality. The officer-like quality is that you can ask a soldier to stand in front of a bullet. So they test you for that. If you have that officer-like quality, that you can make a man stand in front of a bullet which is going to come and hit him on chest, that means you are an officer-like quality. But now I think that maybe that officer-like quality would have to change a bit, because at that point of time, the soldiers' basic education was slightly lower. Now we are having more soldiers who might be questioning this, that why don't you go and stand in front of the bullet rather than kind of sending me. So this is something which even the armed forces would be facing. So this is something, the basic education of the people, the basic demographic of the people is something which is changing it. So the thing which I'm trying to drive in here is, there is a whole ecosystem which is changing. There is huge data which is coming. There is a workforce whose expectations are very different. And the expectations from HR is also very different. So what we need is something wherein we can actually have a system, and I think Prakash covered it very well. We need a system which captures data. So as an organization, look at this data continuum. This is something which I just wanted to show. So as an organization, most of us would be in this data foundation or descriptive reporting kind of box, that we are still capturing data. We are still ensuring that males are recorded as males and females are recorded as females, whereas the world has just kind of moved ahead. The world is where they're trying to kind of do data exploration, use predictive techniques, and the future is in terms of cognitive. So just to give you a glimpse of cognitive, what exactly is cognitive all about? So cognitive is wherein a machine will understand and prescribe. So when I say cognitive, there is a lot of data which is being generated. And a simple example would be that right now we are training Watson, and it is being trained by 2 surgeons in US for past 6 months. And Watson is like a machine. Watson is being trained to read X-rays, analyze medical reports, look at it, and make suggestions. So we are kind of bringing an aid to doctors. Earlier, computers could kind of be programs which could do something, but no one thought that the computer could hear or listen. So speech to text is there, the technology is already there. The computer can read, so reading is also there. It was always able to interpret, that was there. But now, along with that, it is able to prescribe also. So the future is that about 1 year down the line, you have a Watson which can actually, you go to it, and it's like very feasible. Think of a doctor, what does he do? You go to a doctor, you tell about your symptoms. He looks at it, he has something in his brain which tells him that these 5 symptoms and this thing, look at you, this means that this guy is suffering from this. So this can be very easily automated. So it's like Watson looking at your previous history, your blood pressure history, and looking at telling you that, okay, these are the things. I know a couple of startups who are doing well in India. This thing was started by a Stanford graduate. So his friend died because of heart attack. So what he is building is, they will pick your data, they'll pick your family's history, they'll pick your diet, like what all are you eating, stuff like that. They'll try to capture that. And then they can tell you that these are the various risks of ailments which you are going to suffer. So instead of a disease coming and kind of you going to diagnose a disease, they are going to predict that you might suffer from high BP, you might suffer from diabetes because of your family history, because of similar kind of digestive things which people eat, because of the area which you come from. These are some of the things. So it's like world is heading towards that. In terms of specific HR, if I say, um, even for me as a consultant, it's getting really difficult because what is happening is earlier the world was like this, that we had an offering. We'll come to you, we say, sir, I have an HR shared services offering. You want to outsource your piece to me. You want to outsource your recruitment to me. You want to outsource your payroll to me. That's like thing of past. These are called offerings. These are called standard offerings which people used to come to you and say that, okay, this is your HR cost, this is your process, learning, and these costs will come out. Now we go and come with you and we try and develop use cases. So the new world is about use cases. You can tell me, I want a Watson, and this is a client which I am working with right now. I want Watson to do career counseling for my employees. So how would Watson do career counseling for my employees? He would look at the past performance data. He would look at talent insight reports. He would look at various other LinkedIn profiles. He would look at what the employee writes. So in Twitter, we have this capability that if you write even those 130 characters, you give me 15 tweets, I can paint your personality, what kind of person you are. You use positive words, you use negative words, what kind of sentiments you have. So to that level, we are kind of going and kind of dissecting a man. So I know it's like strange, and at times it's scary also. For me, it's scary. The right word is scary, but that's the way it is. So for me, in the 2 or 3 use cases I'm working right now is one, for onboarding, if I can have Watson take over complete onboarding. So I have my employee coming in. There is employee self-system, where employee self-service, where an employee just goes and raises various tickets. If he has any issues, so it's like when I say various tickets, I want a laptop, go to this link, click it. But if I have some issues, I will just kind of have a real-time machine answering me questions. And moreover, that machine is able to even frame questions for me. So I might not be able to frame the right question. So I would say, okay, where is the iCard or something like that? And the machine picks up, oh, the keyword is iCard, and this person wants to know about the iCard. So this is the answer. Because at the end of the day, these are some standard questions. So even the repository could be 500 questions, 17,000 questions, 20,000 questions. But these are standard questions, and the machine just picks up, analyzes it, because it can analyze faster than human, and then come back with that. I'll just like to end my session there with this like one joke which we always share is like, so this came from Twitter. So IBM has a partnership with Twitter, and when we started it, it was like, what would IBM do with the partnership with Twitter? How is it useful? So how is Twitter data useful for business? So I'm just giving you a simple case, it's a real-time one. So in China, there was a serial which was happening, and the heroine wore a frock. And suddenly, people went ballistic. They started tweeting. So women went on Twitter and tweeted, that's such a nice frock, and it got a lot of likes. This data was picked up in 3 hours, and suddenly, the company which had made that frock knew that this has become the new fashion trend. It started taking orders online. The next day, these women started receiving on their mobile that this frock is available at this site. So you have just tweeted something. Next day, that frock, suddenly you log into Facebook, it's on the right-hand side. You wanted it. So earlier, women used to struggle that I saw something, I saw Wahida Rahman wearing something, I could not get it for next 5 years or 3 years or 30 days. This is like next day, 12 hours later, you are seeing it on your mobile. And now you are ready to even pay a premium on it. So you go click, the organization used that data and made loads and loads of money. And in terms of the joke, what I'm saying is like this, that what I say is that going forward, we would have you so much analyzed that we would know that you buy 6 shirts in 6 months, you buy check shirts, you buy blue shirts, you buy green shirt, this is the order. And suddenly one day you decide that I will buy a blue shirt instead of green or red instead of a green one. We will have an ambulance at your house immediately, that there is something which has happened psychologically, something has hit you, and suddenly you are not that same human anymore. So this is like the future which we are looking at. I'm not sure whether that will happen, but it's scary, and that's where we are heading. So with that, I'm going to end. Thank you.
Deepak, if the ambulance comes to my house, I'm. Is this working? Is this on or switched off? Okay. So to wind this up, we looked at different trends of data, looked at, the topic was HR analytics and big data. We really tried hard to stick on to what it really meant. And most of you all must be expecting different dashboards to be coming up. I guess we were a step higher than that. What we were trying to address is what is analytics, where do they come from, and how we can use it, and why we should use it, and what is the logic behind it. After probably 18 years of working, something that I've really realized is if you keep things simple, they get done faster, and the person in front of you understands it much better. Because simplicity in communicating something and in understanding is the easiest way to tackle any problem, and that's how relationships are built. You might think about HR analytics and predictive and cognitive HR, but the guy to whom you're going to talk to is a telecom expert or a doctor. He has no understanding of what cognitive HR means. It's not his need, it's not his ask. So you ask him, if he understands it, go and tell him. If he doesn't understand him, shake hands and walk out. At least keep your head up straight. And to the larger issue, I just let me end this up with a very simple speech. And sir, I'll take it up from the army. And Titus had said once, saying that every battle is beautiful till the time you fight it. Every battle is pretty till the time you bleed it. To know it, you first fight it. I guess the thought and the process that we were trying to put here is it's your battle, not ours. We have fought our battles and we have understood and we have represented what we could. Neither of me or my team members can get into your head and understand what HR analytics you mean for you to understand. But understanding it somewhere and starting it, probably opening up the Excel spreadsheet to start with, and then moving on to success factors, or just simply making the telephone call to your stakeholders and telling them, do you really need it? Or first reading it yourself and looking at how the trending is happening. We, at this point of time, are just providing you pointers. You can reach us on an email and we can really talk a lot. I guess beyond this, us or we as a team can't provide you anything more. We have done a lot. If you need more, reach out. If you do not, and if you can suffice it with a book on Amazon, please go and buy one. But I know, don't push me so much. But thank you for, I'm not allowed to take questions. She already clapped. But we can meet outside and वो तो अभी बड़ा इंसल्ट किया सर आपने. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope we added a little bit of value, some percentages up and high for you to start the journey someplace. Best of luck. Have a great time.